true championship contender. And we are live on the True Knicks Talk post-game show. We are back at it on a back-to-back, just like the Knicks were, as they defeat the Washington Wizards at home tonight, following a nice little victory against the Brooklyn Nets yesterday. If you guys missed that, make sure to go back on the channel and catch our analysis and our assessment of that victory. But we are here talking about a dominant performance, Nick, against the Washington Wizards. We will get into it. Before we do, please, if you are watching this stream, if you enjoy our Knicks discussions, hit those thumbs up buttons on this channel, on this stream. Go over to the He Did This To Me podcast as well. The link's in my description down below. Subscribe over there, subscribe to this channel, and drop those live chat comments. We want to have a discussion with you all as the viewers pertaining to our New York Knicks and this victory. Nick, how you doing today?
Hey, man, feeling good. It always feels good to win a couple in a row, to win 3 out of 4. Yo, that new intro music you got, that kind of slaps. I was feeling that, man. I was over here, you know. But yeah, man, if you're checking this out on the He Did This To Me channel, look down in the description and definitely go and subscribe to my guy, CP. We've been doing this for a while now, talking some Knicks and talking some Mets. And it's nice to be able to talk about some Knicks wins. We get the back-to-back dubs. We take care of business. We make it easy. We get guys, nobody over 35 minutes. 35 for Mikal is like, 25 for somebody else. I was a little annoyed when he got brought back in the fourth. I was a little annoyed when OG got brought back in the fourth. But hey, let's take a step back, and have some trust in Tibbs. Good win overall.
Yeah, we knew that man Tom Thibodeau was going to do that. He saw the lead get cut to 24, and he was sick to his stomach. He called that timeout and put him right back in there. I was like, oh, boy, here we go again. But no, man, I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to get everything up and running for this new season, right? The new intro going hard. I hope you all enjoy that as well to start and kickstart our streams and our True Knicks Talk podcast episodes. Salute to my guy, Sheffy Jr. in the house. Appreciate you becoming a member of the YouTube channel. If you all are Knicks fans and if you don't subscribe to Sheffy Jr., make sure you go ahead and do that. Some fire in-game live streams. Great content, great analysis, great outfits that the guy has on. He's bringing the energy, he's bringing the hype. I definitely appreciate that. So make sure you go show some love to Sheffy. Appreciate my guy from the You Know I'm Right podcast tuning in. My guy, Nick, I appreciate you, Nick Squared. Thanks for the support. Thanks for tuning in. And we got Daniel saying, evening. Appreciate you, Daniel, as well. Let's get into it because this was a dominant victory from start to finish. It really was. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to have to rely on your expertise, particularly in the first half, because I was caught talking with Rob, about the Mets offseason, the Mets hot stove. I did miss a big chunk of this game, but again, I got to kind of tune in. And I honestly think that the ending of this game and seeing the young fellas play might have been just a little bit more exciting to see what we got, because we got some good Pacome Daddier minutes, Tyler Kolek, and everybody off the bench. You know who we have to talk about in this podcast episode that played a hell of a game? That man, Jericho Sims, came to play today. I was impressed with what he was doing, but kind of take me through it, man. Let's take a look at some of the team stats here that we have. Wizards versus Knicks. The turnover battle, it's always good to see the Knicks not turning the ball over 10 or more times in a game. The fast break points, again, in favor of the New York Knicks. The paint points, 62-50. We're going to continue to have these discussions again, naturally, as per our discussion on the postgame last night, talking about the Knicks running 5 out, no in, or 4 out, 1 in set. Naturally, stuff like this is going to happen, especially when Karl-Anthony Towns is your lengthiest and probably the only length that you have outside of maybe an OG Anunoby. I'm not saying Mikal Bridges isn't lengthy, but in terms of, I'm talking about big guys, big men in that post.
You got to clarify that one right there. I almost gave you a pause.
Yeah, no. I got it. Okay, yeah, no. That's where I was going with that. 37-23, 41 rebounds apiece, free throws, and this is kind of where the Knicks, or the Wizards, I should say, showed their youth. Right, this is a youthful team. They're not going to be good. They're 2-11 at this point of the season. Free throws, 56.3% is a joke, 33% from three. Just take me into some of the ins and outs, particularly in the first half when we saw our guy, Jalen Brunson, dominating this game and having a really good bounce back performance compared to the way he shot the ball against Brooklyn.
Brunson started off distributing. He had a ton of assists in the first half. It was that third quarter where he had 14, where he really jumped up that scoring number. But he was controlling the game with just a total floor game, and also just in general at the very beginning, the ball movement around the entire floor. I mean, it felt like you were watching like a tape of like the 70s Knicks or the late 60s Knicks, where everybody's touching the ball, minimal dribbles, and just being extremely efficient, and a lot of backdoor. I actually thought about it where, early on in the game, OG is getting dunks, cutting backdoor, as he has done so well this entire season. And I thought to myself, if you go with a Mitch in the starting lineup, those plays are now eliminated because there's going to be somebody down there in the paint all the time. And Cat's ability, Cat at one point caught a ball at the elbow extended and the initial pass wasn't there. So he just like held it up like this, almost as like a signal to everybody else, like, hey, yo, somebody cut, I'm gonna get it to you. And then OG ends up getting it, and I'm pretty sure he got fouled. Yeah. OG was fantastic to start off. We talked about how he's a savant when it comes to his understand of spacing and anticipation on both ends of the floor. I think that we might be seeing OG turning into like a version of Kawhi right before our eyes. And yeah, man, when you look at him, I don't know how old some of the people are back here, but there was an animated version of the late night shows, and I'm kind of workshopping this. I don't know if this is the right one just yet, but I'm calling him OG Space Ghost Coast to Coast, because no matter what side of the floor he's on, he's always there. He's always appearing. He's either dunking it on your head behind your back, or he is swatting it or getting there so early that he busts up your entire play. He's just fantastic. Seeing him mature and seeing him take it to a new level now that he's a $200 million man has been great to watch. And the Knicks took care of business early, often. The Wizards are a dumpster fire. Wow, they are so bad. And the Knicks got it done.
Yeah, this is one of the games where you wanted to see if the Knicks could just take control of the game and just make it a blowout, right? You always like to see wins. Obviously, anything single digit in the win category tonight would have been a little bit disappointing. And they went out there and they got it done on a back-to-back, no less. Karl-Anthony Towns, we were questioning if he was actually going to suit up tonight after taking a pretty rough tumble against the Nets last night. I like what I see from the Knicks, and obviously it's against two. I wouldn't say the Nets are quote unquote a lesser team. They are a lesser team. Let me just not be nice for a second. They're a lesser team.
Let's be. You know what? And I thought about this after we got off last night, and I forgot about it. I didn't get to say it during the post game. Yo, I'm impressed with the Nets, man. I'm impressed with the Nets. The Nets play hard on defense. They got some shot makers on their team. They got some length, and they're a little bit nicked up now. When they start getting guys like Claxton back, the Nets, and we've obviously dominated that matchup here recently, but they are not a team to be trifled with. And clearly we saw what happened in game one of that back-to-back when we did start to take them lightly. I got to shout out, and I'm not a Nets, I'm not a Nets apologist in the slightest, but I got to shout them out. They're not bad.
Neither of us are Nets apologists at all, but I agree. At some points of that game, I was just like, this is suffocating defense that they're playing, which is, they are just a young, energetic team. I'm sure they're pretty well coached from what I can see. And that team is, I expect them to be sneaking into, sort of a play-in situation with what they got going on. And again, I think that the Mikal Bridges trade for them was this is a trade that obviously benefits both teams, but with the trajectory that the Nets are headed down, that was a haul that they got back in return from Mikal Bridges, and that's going to set them up pretty nicely. But back to the New York Knicks discussion here. I completely agree with you. I mean, OG Anunoby is in a different world right now, both on the court and during his post-game interviews as well, when he's grabbing that mic.
You can't play with the ball or the mic in front of OG because he's gonna snatch it.
Facts, exactly right. And dude, I mean, this guy knows how to move off ball, man. This is his bread and butter. And the fact that you now have a 7-footer, elbow extended, like you just said, tossing passes behind his back, like finding the open cutter. I mean, it's absolutely insane what the Knicks are able to replicate here. Now, again, right, we're going to have discussions in terms of, does that lack of length plague them as the season goes on? But right now, with the offensive efficiency, some of the situations and some of these, back doors, some of these cuts for open buckets that you otherwise probably wouldn't get if you have a guy like Julius Randle on the floor. If you definitely wouldn't get if you have a guy like Mitchell Robinson in that paint clogging things up. Now, again, to save my narrative, I'm going to have to sit here and say I still want Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns and that sort of, starting five to kind of commence, because I can't really go back, in terms of my words and what I said last night. And I don't want to. I still hold true to that. But some of the stuff that you're pointing out, some of the stuff that we saw last night and tonight in terms of those cuts and those easy buckets is like, damn, it can be that easy sometimes. And that's the type of player that you have and that you brought into your doors in Karl-Anthony Towns. And it's just absolutely refreshing to see. And, in pertaining to Jalen Brunson, it was only a matter of time until this guy got going. I mean, I was seeing absolutely silly stuff on my timeline over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, talking about Jalen Brunson and holding Jalen Brunson accountable and just absolutely ridiculous stuff. And yeah, it's great to hold him accountable. This guy's the team captain. He needs to be producing, especially in this type of season. But is anybody really expecting Jalen Brunson to slump with his shot for an extended period of time? I know I'm not. And if this was Jalen Brunson's get right game, if he can sort of find his rhythm after tonight, I'm going to take that all day long. We'll look at the box score here in just a second. Is there anything that you want to kind of point out as it pertains to these team stats that you see?
So the big thing, obviously, is the assists. And everybody has heard the stat. I think this is now the 7th time that we have had over 30 assists, whereas last year, I think we did like a total of 9 times all season. So we're way, blowing away last year's pace. And as a Knicks fan, you can watch it and you can see it. And what you can see is that last year, we had to work so hard for everything. Every bucket that we got was such a grind. And we're getting such easy buckets now. The offense is absolutely beautiful to watch. The offense has been fairly consistent. It's a defense that's been up and down, and hopefully we can find some consistency there. But as far as Brunson's concerned, if him struggling is, him averaging 28 and 7 and also, shooting 38% from behind the arc and, just almost 50% from inside the arc, I'll take that all the time. And I did think tonight was one of the first times you really saw Brunson get hot. Like, there was a point where in that third quarter, he hit three straight threes, the last one being a 4-point play, him getting really hot. And then remember, the next game is going to be in Phoenix, where I'll be in the house, me and the big guy. And the last time he was there, he put up a 50 burger and was 12 of 12 in the second half. So he typically likes this gym. Let's see Brunson go ahead and just really, really get out there and get it. And as far as Cat's concerned, that's about one of the easiest 24s you will ever see. And that's what's so beautiful about his game. It is so simple. It is so easy. And I'm just glad that we were able to get a win. We were able to get out of there without anybody, stepping on a foot or overextending or anything like that. And now we get a day off to chill. And then we get this another weird, like zigzaggy road trip that we're having for the second time this season already. That's very odd to me.
Yeah, what is it? It's Phoenix. We'll talk about that game here in one of the last slides. And then it's Utah. They go to Utah on Saturday?
Yeah. Yep.
It's a 5 p.m. game on a Saturday, dude. Well, 5 p.m. Eastern for us. So
yeah, and then they go to Utah, and then they go to the Nuggets, and then they go to Dallas. It's just a little, I don't know. It seems like typically they take a more direct route through road trips as opposed to the two that they've gone on so far this season.
Well, as you mentioned, sort of escaping this victory without, having any sort of injury concerns. There was one point where OG Anunoby, was grabbing at his leg on the offensive side, and my heart about dropped. I was like, oh no. He was good. I mean, obviously he got back into the fourth quarter. He was good, but he grabbed at that ankle area, and I was just like, here.
Was he pulling up his shoe or was he grabbing at that? Because I initially thought that he was going for the Achilles. I was like, in my head, and especially because the camera panned away from right there. Oh, he's on the ground holding his Achilles right now. He's writhing in pain. It's like, that telltale Achilles that we've always seen. Every time OG lands, I get nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
He's playing well, man. Can we bless this guy with some health? Him and Cat, like they're both playing so well. And it's just like, can we please bless them with some health? I could just come on, man. We need it. We need
absolutely.
It. Deserve it.
I agree with you. We deserve the health of this Knicks team in, especially when you look at what we had to endure down the stretch last season and what could have been a magical run. But let's talk about this box score. I don't want to only talk about this box score. I don't really have a slide made for the bench unit, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the bench guys and what we've seen and what their roles could be moving forward. Because again, we've been seeing some increased minutes for a guy like Pacome Dadier over the last couple of appearances, which is good. We don't know, how much that's going to continue, especially when the guy like Precious Achiuwa gets back and you have kind of that length coming back. So I would expect the minutes to go back down for the rookie. But, another story in terms of the injury categories, Deuce McBride, and whether we should be worried about Deuce's, health status with that knee, whether it's hyperextended, whether there's something else going on, because at the end of the day, we are Knicks fans and we know how, I don't want to say dishonest, but how lack of transparent they are on the injury front. And Tom Thibodeau's like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry. It's fine. We should see him on the upcoming road trip. And then he's nowhere to be found. Or like, where the hell is this guy? And then the bombshell comes out. So I'm not saying, again, this is like the past trauma that's getting to me in terms of bringing this up. I'm not saying this is going to happen, in this Deuce McBride situations, but what is that now? Like 3 or 4 games that Deuce has been on the shelf, if I'm not mistaken?
He's missed 3 games. Well, he missed a game earlier in the season due to like an illness, I think, and now he's just missed another 3 games straight. And yeah, as you said, it gets a little murky. Lack of transparency, like you said, when it comes to the Knicks and how they report on their injuries. But the one thing is, I see him on the sideline during the game. I'm always watching guys who are injured, watching how they get up and move around, and he's getting up off his seat without like pushing himself up or anything like that. He's walking around. Deuce is fine. He'll be back soon. He's a young guy. He's a football player. He's tough. He'll be back.
You're talking me off the ledge right now, and that's awesome. I like it. I like it a lot. We're just about 17 minutes, just past 17 minutes onto this post-game stream. Again, please, we got to say it. If you're over on X, come over to the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're not going anywhere. We're talking Knicks all season long, schedule permitting with the post-game shows. I'm sure I'll mix in some pre-game shows. I've already done a couple pre-game shows this season. Hit the thumbs up on the stream. Drop those comments. You can drop comments whether you're on X or over on YouTube as well. But again, turn on those notifications and subscribe to the He Did This To Me podcast. The link is in the description down below. Excuse me. Listen, I mean, you look up and down the board. Outside of the 134-106 mark here, which is, it's a blowout win. There's not really much to talk about here as well in terms of, that score, because it never really got interesting at any point in the game. What, like this box score, I can't, minus maybe a slow Mikal Bridges game up until that fourth quarter where he got a couple of shots to go down. There's really nothing to complain about here, man. 6 of 12 from OG. Pat was 8 of 14. Brunson was efficient not only from the field in terms of being 9 of 15, but also from downtown, hitting the 3 ball really efficiently. I mean, Jalen Brunson. So let's just start this conversation here. This is what I want to talk about, Jalen Brunson. We've seen 2 opposite games, 2 opposite ends of the spectrum from Jalen Brunson in his past 2 nights. Offensive scoring tonight, very efficient, putting the ball in the basket, not so much last night against Brooklyn, getting off to an abysmal start shooting. But the assist category, what has remained the constant in each of these last 2 contests. And Karl-Anthony Towns basically stated that is the ability of Jalen Brunson to impact the game as any true, elite level point guard should, outside of just the scoring in terms of distributing the ball and getting his teammates involved. And that's exactly what he did again tonight with 11 assists. I mean, that's something that you love to see because there were conversations being had, whether they were valid or whether they weren't, whether they were premature. A lot of Knicks fans were getting on Jalen Brunson in terms of not turning up more assists in the game, not, in these games, not, distributing the ball as he should, not working. And I know that you've mentioned this a lot of times, especially in those losses to Houston and Atlanta down the stretch, why they went away from working the 2-man game between Brunson and Cat. I mean, we're seeing a different version of Jalen Brunson here recently in terms of strictly passing the ball, scoring aside. How do you assess that sort of change that Jalen Brunson is sort of undergoing as this season is progressively getting up there? I mean, what is this now? 8-14 or 8-6? So that's 14 games already. How do you assess the distribution from Jalen Brunson so far?
One thing that we've learned about Jalen Marquise Brunson is that he will always make the adjustment. Everybody loses sight of the fact that last year he goes on, he has 4 straight 40-point games, preceded by a 39-point game, by the way. So it's very close to being 5 in the playoffs. And he kind of has his like welcome to the big stage moment where everybody finds out that this guy is an absolute legitimate superstar. He has an amazing playoff run. At the beginning of the playoffs last year, he had 2 or 3 of the worst games he's ever had, ever, against Philadelphia. Remember? He couldn't shoot. He was making terrible turnovers. He was having such a tough time. And then, wow, all of a sudden he figures it out and then he turns it on. And that's what he's doing with this new team. And he clearly is making more of an effort to be a distributor. And he's showing that when he puts a little bit more emphasis on that, that he can be a high level elite floor, just distributor for everybody on the floor. And then his ability to then get in the paint. And I mean, he had the one look away where he passed it to Josh Hart, and Josh Hart finished in transition, was absolutely gorgeous. He's always looking for Cat. And also, it's not just the actual assists. It's the way that you could tell there's certain times where he is now, when he gets a pick and roll with Cat, sometimes he realizes, okay, this is a good time for me to attack and look for my own shot, whether it be a pull-up or getting into the paint. Sometimes you could tell he's just drawing the defender and the second defender out so that he can get the ball to Cat in a more advantageous position. So he's making adjustments. He's going to continue to get better at that. This entire team, the ball movement is absolutely fantastic. We already talked about the assists, but what I really liked and what I saw this game that impressed me was how we took care of business in the third quarter. You have that big lead. You come out in the third quarter, and immediately from the very beginning, I saw us defensively making sure that we were taking that little extra space away from guys and getting up in them, pause. And then you had Cat make a 3, and right before that, Brunson had made a deep jump shot, and it seemed like we totally took any type of thought of them coming back in the second half away right there. So I love when I see the team take care of business like that. I love a good wire-to-wire win, and I love what I'm seeing out of Brunson and his ability to continue to pick his spots when we need him to be aggressive and when we need him to distribute. And I think that's one of the biggest keys also for how he performs down the stretch of games, is that when we have games where we give him a chance to be able to, not have to play a ton of minutes and be able to go into the fourth quarter with a little bit of rest and legs up underneath him, then he's going to be able to close and finish much better for us. And we talk about that box score right there. We're not even talking about 17 points and 7 assists from Campaign. Campaign looking fantastic, officially in the circle of trust. Pacome.ea, like the way that you talked about Vientos, that's how I am about Pacome. Okay. I'm one of those guys who it's real easy for me to get on board of a hype train of a young Knicks player. So as soon as we draft this guy, I don't know anything about him, but I go and I read a bunch of articles and I watch a few videos, and some of these other French guys who got taken in front of him in the draft, he's outplayed them, and I'm like, yo, this is the guy. I love this guy. Then he comes out in summer league, throws up a bunch of air balls, but I've seen since then some things that I've liked both in the preseason and tonight. He makes 3 threes. He is showing himself to be a competent defender. He's long. He has good instincts. I'm telling you, there's a little bit more playmaker to his game that I've seen in watching some of his younger tapes in the international circuit. I loved what I saw with those guys that came off the bench today. And Sims had a fantastic finish, a finish that's going to be on everybody's top 10 tonight. Whether, NBA, it'll be on SportsCenter top 10. What a finish by Sims. And another thing, somebody threw in a Knicks chat that I'm in earlier. I don't know if any of you ever would like to go on Instagram and check out your man Sims. I guess his significant other, she had some sort of birthday yesterday or something like that, and they posted pictures of it. Listen, my man is holding it down on D in more than one way. Okay, all right, he's doing. Sims is doing all right. So you got to trust his judgment there. But yeah, man, just wire to wire, great performance.
And a true, like, I wasn't familiar with your game, Jericho type moment, I think is what you're trying to describe. Yeah. I saw that being floated around on Knicks, the Knicks universe as well. Listen, first of all, shout out to my guy Jeremy. The coming couple of games will be informative on where the team is. Mavs, Suns, Nuggets, all good teams that the Knicks are going to have to play. So I definitely agree with that. Jeremy, thank you so much for being here. And again, continue to drop those live chat comments. We really want to have a discussion with you all. Don't be shy. We'll toss up the comments, have a conversation. But no, I definitely agree with you. First of all, Campaign, I mean, he was already in my circle of trust. I mean, I'm not sure about you. I know we had a little bit of discussion about Campaign yesterday, but he was in my circle of trust. I mean, I knew what the Knicks, it didn't really make sense at the time for me when the signing happened to bring him on board. And I was questioning the overall fit in terms of, just prioritizing his minutes this season, which was kind of like my worry. But I mean, I never really questioned. He's a solid vet at this point of his career. He's a solid vet. And the shot's ugly as hell. I mean, let's get out the way. The shot's ugly as hell, but it goes in. 17 points, like you said, a lot of assists, 7 assists off the bench, which is tremendous, and 5 of 6 from downtown. He's getting it done. He knows how to put the ball in the basket. And he's also just one of those playmaking types off the bench that every team could use. And that's exactly what Leon Rose saw. He saw fit and he brought him in, and more power to Leon Rose. As we say with the Mets, and since we're drawing Mets and Knicks comparisons here with Pacome Dadier and Mark Vientos, in David Stearns we trust, the same thing as in Leon Rose we trust. We trust these guys at the helm of both of our teams, absolutely. And you said it best, is like, we know who coaches this team. So any young guy, any rookie that comes into this organization is already going to have an uphill battle in terms of earning minutes. And it's going to be even more of an uphill battle in terms of proving yourself to Mr. Tom Thibodeau in said minutes. We've heard the clip of Deuce McBride telling that to Ariel Hukporti early on this season. The same thing goes for Tyler Kolek, and the same thing goes for Pacome Dadier. I really like Pacome's game as well. I think he's a big figure. He can shoot the ball from the outside. And again, one of the guys that was really overlooked in this draft. I mean, I'm not sure how much you knew about him before the Knicks actually drafted him. I didn't know anything about him. And I just got right to just researching articles, watching some tape. And I was just like, all right, I can get down with this. Is he going to make an immediate impact in year one? Probably not. Maybe not even year two, but he's young and he's going to be in this organization developing, you would hope, and making contributions down the line. But we're already starting to see, right? No Precious Achiuwa, a couple of under injuries to some bench guys, Deuce McBride mainly. There's minutes to give out. And I'm really happy that Tom Thibodeau is making it a priority to hand those minutes to Pacome Dadier. Jericho Sims. I've been on this guy's case this entire season. I think everybody has. This was not the version of Jericho Sims tonight that we've seen pretty much at all. I think he played a solid game against
2 nights in a row. 2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row. He's played a solid game, 100%. But this version tonight, and you take a look at the finish, like you said, but also, right, I think he had 7 points. He finally made a free throw. Thank goodness he made a free throw. That was awesome to see. Did you see that hard screen that he set in the third quarter? Knocking the wind out of, I forgot who it was. I think it was Carrington for the Wizards.
Carrington it was.
Dude, it's about time this guy realizes what type of body he has, what type of structure he has. Dude, you're a monster. Stop playing like it. I like to see that aggression, the confidence. I really do. It was nice. It was refreshing to see, man. So
yeah, nice 7 and 7 from Jericho Sims tonight, and it's not just statistics. He was being just much more aggressive, and one thing that Sims does extremely well is his ability to move his feet when he switches on to a guard. And that screen was fantastic. I felt like I was like, is Charles, is Anthony Mason playing right now? Like I haven't seen a Knick set a screen like that. And typically in today's NBA, when you set a screen like that, even if it's a good legal screen, the ref calls an offensive foul, especially if you're a Jericho Sims. But hey, they recognized it as it was just a good hard screen, and I'm pretty sure it was Campaign who ran who was the person who had the ball, that was the ball handler at the time. And I'm pretty sure it turned into a Campaign assist or a 3 in that possession. But I just thought, man, you could see that he's got a little bit, he's always got the bounce It's just, is he bouncing in the correct direction and at the right times? And it seems like maybe he's figuring some things out. Obviously, Tibbs has shown some trust in him, amongst a bunch of people calling for his minutes to be eliminated and be given to Ariel Hukporti. So you got to respect this guy stepping up in that space. And then, this could be a thing that we look back a couple weeks from now and we say, look, this is another one of those times where we need to shut up and just trust in Tibbs.
Yeah, and Tom Thibodeau did say that, I believe, after, or was it before the Nets game last night, saying that, listen, I mean, Jericho Sims has been playing decent in his estimation, and we were all like, what are you talking about? Like, are we watching the same game? But again, I mean, maybe we just do have to trust in Tibbs. I trust in Tibbs, but it's like still some of the rotation stuff does bother me a little bit. Some of the minute stuff has bothered everybody, at least a little bit this season so far. But at the end of the day, Tom Thibodeau is who he is. He doesn't deviate from the type of coach that he is. And at least I can respect that. At least he's consistent in what
he did a good job
does.
tonight with the minutes. He did a good job tonight with the minutes. Let's be clear. Josh Hart, 32 minutes. That's like a night off, a day off at the spa for Josh Hart. Mikal Bridges played 34. Brunson only played 30. Cat only played 24, which I loved. When Cat went out in the third quarter, I was like, can we please not bring Cat back in this game? Let Cat go chill for a couple days. He landed on his back. He's got need in the knee. Let Cat chill. Let the big meow purr.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, this is like 31 minutes of a post game, and I think that we covered our bases in terms of what we saw. There's really nothing else to say about this game. I mean, it was a blowout, offensive efficiency, taking care of the ball, which was the main point. Like some of these kind of games where, they're ugly, you're better than the other team. You can get complacent, which the Knicks didn't do, but you can also get careless too, in terms of giving the basketball away. And the Knicks held their own in terms of the discipline category of the game of basketball. And I like to see that because we've seen games this season so far where we get 12, 13, 14 turnovers. And it's just like, they're just boneheaded turnovers. It's just like, dude, take care of the ball. But we did not see that tonight. And that was pretty good to see. Last order of business on this post game before we wrap things up is the game that you will be in attendance for here. Just taking a little bit of a preview outlook on this Tuesday night game in Phoenix. I believe this is an ESPN game, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
10 p.m. Eastern is the start time. No Kevin Durant. He is out for the next 2 weeks in what I heard through the grapevine. So these are the projected starting fives. And how are you feeling about this game? I mean, you're going to be in the house. You just mentioned a couple minutes ago that Jalen Brunson, the last time you were there, he had the big 5-0. And he usually likes to play in that building. And he's pretty familiar with that building with his, Dallas Mavericks days. So what are you, I guess, anticipating here, especially with no KD? What are you looking out for? What are you excited for?
Well, no KD, and then also no Bradley Beal. And Suns fans are all just screaming about the fact that, when they can actually have Booker, Beal, and Kevin Durant play together, what a team they can be. They were off to a great start. They were either 8-1 or 9-1, I think, when KD went down. And by the way, KD, when he went down, was averaging 38.8 minutes. A guy at his age with his injury history, if that was a Tom Thibodeau team, the media and everybody else would be crucifying him if that happened.
Budenholzer now, right?
Yeah. Which I like him. I think that was the beginning of the end for the Bucks, and they've just been hiring Doc Rivers is just beyond stupid at this point. I don't understand why anybody would do that. But anyway, back to the Knicks playing against the Suns on Wednesday. Without those two big guys, they're two of their three best players. We got to take care of business, man. We got to go in here and we got to absolutely take care of business. This guy Nurkic is good, and he's one of those guys that I feel like will give Cat a little bit of an issue just because he can pull him away from the basket and shoot a little bit. But then, he's also a very good passer, can put the ball on the floor a little bit. He's almost like a Vucevic light. And so I just think that the Knicks need to come out and from the very beginning take control of this game. I can tell you right now that the overall Phoenix fan base, if you take them out early, they'll go ahead and just roll over and die. So if they come out and they take care of business early this Wednesday on ESPN, nationally televised game, and we got 3 in a row against, a team in Brooklyn that is hovering around 500, which is a surprise, and then a team and the Wizards that look like the worst team in the league. So we've taken care of business. Let's go ahead and get this one against an injured Phoenix team, because then after that, with the Nuggets and with Utah, these are some tougher games. Dallas, those are all tougher games. Okay, so let's go ahead and stack some wins, and especially against this wounded Suns team. And I think we got a chance to do that for sure. And hey, we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to just seeing everybody up close. It's always cool when you watch these guys on TV all season, at least to have those couple times a year where you get to see them up close. I do have very good seats. Shout out to my CEO for that. But then also, man, just seeing some of these guys, how they interact with each other when, the camera's not on them would be typically. I thought it was really cool to have Josh Hart be mic'd up tonight and, kind of hear the way that he talks. We know he talks a lot, but it was actually nice to hear what he actually says. Now, about Josh Hart, I've been thinking about this. Yo, is there a transition open floor finisher other than LeBron that's better than Josh Hart in the entire NBA?
I don't think so.
It's uncanny the way this guy can be going full speed and on either side reverse with either hand can find a way to just get that ball off at that perfect angle and soft enough to put it through. I mean, he's so elite at that.
Yeah, but we saw this, transpire, that aspect of his game since he came over from Portland. I mean, it's been just consistency. And if you get Josh Hart running in transition, even if it's like a 1-on-2 and he's just taking on 2 defenders, he's going to put the move on them and he's going to finish. Like, there's no not finishing at the rim for Josh Hart in transition. Coast to coast, it's easy money every time. So I agree, that's a good point. And hopefully you do enjoy the game. It should be a good one. I think the Suns could still, they could put up a fight. I mean, they got the personnel. I think Tyus Jones is pretty underrated. He was the guy that I was hoping, last season, the Knicks could, potentially have explored, trying to get kind of like a floor general on the bench unit. He winds up in Phoenix here this year. Again, this is a game that the Knicks should win, but I would expect it with, it being a primetime game. And I do apologize. I did make the mistake here. It's on Wednesday, not Tuesday. So apologies for that. But yeah, again, this is a game that the Knicks should win. I think that everybody feels like that in that manner. But, the Suns in this core, this experiment between Booker, KD, and Beal. I mean, KD and Booker, okay, fine. But Bradley Beal, I mean, I got a lot of Wizards friends, fans that Wizards fans that are friends of mine, and they stood by this guy Bradley Beal for the longest. And I do not blame them for doing so, but it just got to a point where it's just like the Wizards just needed to cut ties, and I'm not really sure just like what type of player and what type of game Bradley Beal can bring to the table anymore. But anyways, that's a separate discussion. That's a Suns problem. That's not our problem here on this True Knicks Talk podcast. Anything else, man? I don't have anything else to say about this game. Again, it should be a victory. I'm expecting a close matchup at the very minimum. Maybe we see some magic from Mikal Bridges against his former team.
I was just about to say, watch out for that, because one thing about, so since the Knicks have gotten Bridges, everybody that knows me here knows me as obviously a huge Knicks fan, and so many people have come to me and been like, man, we miss Bridges. Like, I wish we never lost Bridges. You guys are lucky to get him. He's such a good player. So, he had really great years here. He I think he was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year here, made a first team all defense. And I think that, watch out for Bridges to have a big game in his old stomping grounds. I could definitely see that. And then again, I could really see, Brunson continuing what we saw tonight with the hot hand and really getting going and, doing the more extraordinary things that we've seen him do, though he has been really consistent. And then I would love to see in person how he's seeing the floor and, how he is distributing and getting guys into their correct spots. Cause I think that's something as well that it will continue to evolve and continue to level up for him as the season moves along.
Yep, absolutely. 100% agreed. Next game is Wednesday, prime time in Phoenix against the Suns. The Knicks improved to 8-6 after tonight's victory, a dominant one against the Washington Wizards. That's going to do it for us. Nothing else to sort of talk about here. Again, it was a nice, easy game, stress-free. We always take those, especially early on, because we know when we get down the stretch of the season, it's just going to get tougher and tougher and tougher as the playoffs fastly approach. Please, everybody, hit those thumbs up buttons on this stream. Subscribe to the channel, not only my channel, but also the He Did This To Me podcast. You can catch Nick and his pops over there talking Knicks, Mets, Jets, and mostly in a optimistic light. Although I don't know, the Jets might be changing that.
There's not much optimism around the Jets right now.
But yeah, I appreciate the support. Appreciate everyone being here. Let's go Knicks. We'll see you all on the next post game whenever the schedule allows. Boy CP, that's Nick. Peace out.
Thank you for watching the True Knicks Talk podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more Knicks content.